I'm going to go down here to modify. And I'm going to go ahead and insert a design. And go to my digitizing folder, my stitch files, my class projects. Man, I thought I put it here for sure.
Yeah, there it is.
Where?
It's 3 over from the girl on the next line. 3 in.
Oh, large rows. There it is.
Large
Okay. So now here's my large rows. Let me change the hoop size. Let me go back down here. Okay. Now I'm going to go over to the most powerful part of this software, and that is the Object tab. Here on the Object tab, everything is grayed out because I haven't selected anything. And I have to select something before I can work with it. So I'm going to come down and I'm going to touch this object right here. Let me zoom in on it. And I can tell that that's a fill pattern from the way it looks. So I can touch it, left click to select it. Once I've done that, over here it says this is a pattern fill object. And I'm going to click on this. It says pattern fill. Well, what I want to do is convert this to something else. I can convert it to any of these things, but one of the things I can convert it to is a satin area.
Oh.
So we'll click on that, and it says, okay, what properties do you want to have for this satin area? That is, what fill pattern do you want to use? There are 276 fill patterns here. Okay? Actually 277 because 0 is a number too. I'm going to use that for my fill pattern, which means nothing, none of these special fills. Okay, so I'm going to just use 0. I'm going to click on OK, and it says, all right, this is now a satin fill pattern. Now I have to understand what these controls mean here. These are called dumbbells, these purple things with the little lines between them. And they control the angle of stitching. Notice when I'm touching that, you can see the stitches go back and forth like that. When I touch this part, they go another way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here. I'm going to move this up like that. Move this up like this. And I'm going to touch it and say, okay, I think that looks okay. Let me move this down like this. I think that looks okay. Let me move this down like this. And there are many other things you can do here. And I'll just leave it like that. And then I'll say, okay, fine, let's go here to Life View. Let's see what it looks like. Let me zoom in on that. And sure enough, it looks like a nice fill pattern, or a satin object. Okay, so I can cancel. And now I have to go through this and say, well, what is this that I'm touching here? Is this a satin object or is it a fill object or what? Okay, so I'm going to zoom to fit. I'm going to zoom back into this area. And I see that this looks like a fill pattern here. So I'm going to left click on it to select it. Notice it says pattern fill again. I can click here, convert it to satin area. It does. It's converted. And now I have to go back in and decide how I want to move these dumbbells around. Okay, so that everything looks okay. What about this object down here? I mean, this is why you have to become a master of all of these modules. I can click on this object here, and then I can simply click here and move these over so that it covers one of that area. Okay, and
So you could,
go ahead.
you could possibly, that the area where the holes are in the leaf,
Like right
you
here?
could possibly, right, you could possibly open that up and by
That's-
moving the dumbbells, you might be able to fill it in or give it a better
Oh,
fill.
look what I'm doing.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Okay,
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
here is another area. I need to move this down a little bit to cover that
Really
up.
nice.
Here's another pattern fill area. I'll come down here, convert it to a satin area. And now it looks like, I mean, very sloppily, but I just zoomed through this
Yeah.
and made some major repairs to this. And this is why you must become a master of
Mm-hmm.
embroidery extra, modify, and create.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these lessons are out there in my Train Your Way step-by-step system.
Great.
Okay?
That's great. Thank you so
Tim?
much.
Okay, next question. Or let's wait a second.
Tim,
Okay, next question.
is it still recommended to only do a maximum increase in size to 20%?
Well, the reason why that 20% figure was always thrown about was because, let me close this down here. Don't need this anymore. The reason for that, let me paste this back, is because when we zoom in and look at this, it's all satin stitches. Okay? It's all satin stitches. And the problem is that if you take satin stitches and make them too long, then the software will step in and say, obviously you don't understand what you're doing. I cannot, and you would not want me to stitch out satin stitches that are 80 millimeters long, would you?
Oh, no.
So because of that, when you go and resize something like this, I say, you know what? I'm going to handle this and not let you mess it up. Now, how do you resize by exactly 20%? Suppose you say, I want to resize this by exactly 20%. Is there any way to do that? Well, there certainly is, and it's here in Embroidery Extra. You select your design. You go ahead, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to duplicate this twice. Okay, so I'm going to put one over here, and I'm going to put one over here. This one I'm going to leave alone. This one, I'm going to make 20% larger. Once I select it, I can click here on Modify Design, and I can come right down to here and see this says, do you want to increase the width and height of this by a certain percentage? And I say, yeah, I'd like to make it 120% wider. And look at this, it also changed the height to 120%. That's because proportional was checked. Here it's telling me what the size of the new design will be. I'll click OK, and it made it 20% larger. This design, I'm going to do the same thing, only I'm going to say, I'm going to type in 80, because that will take 20% away. 80 on both of them, okay. So that's what they look like. Okay.
That's beautiful.
This one's
That's great.
pretty large compared to the other one. Now what I'm going to do, I want to place this design on top of this design. But because of the way I put them into the hoop, this one will stitch out first before this one. So I want to move this forward. So I go up here to layout order and I say move to front. And just like that, see, it's now right on top of the other one. And this one, I don't remember where that's stitched out, so I'll move it over. Oh, it's all the way in the back. So I'll click here to layout order and click move to front. And now it's on top of the other two. So now you can see 20% is pretty good.
Mm.
You know?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
There's 20,
That
20% larger, there's the original, and there's 20% smaller. And notice they all look just fine. Although here, 20% larger, you can see we're starting to have a problem here.
Yeah.
But that's what modify is for. To get in there to modify and add, you can increase the density, decrease the density, you can do a number of things in modify.
So Tim, if you're only increasing by 20%,
Mm-hmm.
will that maintain the satin stitch as opposed to changing it
Oh, yeah.
to a fill stitch so that you could just go in and just make a few little corrections and modify?
Yeah, well, look at it there.
Okay,
Let's look in life.
yeah.
Let's look in life view, and let's zoom in on it in life view. It looks pretty good. This looks like this could use a little work, but
Yeah.
other than that, it looks okay. Now, this part where the stitches are outside, that's for pull compensation. That's so that they'll
Right.
get pulled in and they'll be underneath of this black row here. The same thing
Mhm.
goes for the stitches down here on the leaf, because there's so many stitches. They're running this way, and then they're running this way, and then they're running this way, and these are running this way, and there's not as much pull compensation here because these stitches aren't that long. Over on this leaf, because it's much longer, they're longer, and the same thing here, because this is larger, there's more pull compensation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something you have to do in digitizing when you're creating the design.